Business Focus with Kudzie, Sharara on the...
Make it 20 minutes before the hour of 7 o'clock, and it's time for us to get into Business Focus with Kudzie Sharara. And of course, as in the norm, now Business Focus is in 3 segments. So we start with any economic news or event that Kudzie thinks has a large bearing on our economy. And of course, the second segment is about investments, in particular the stock market. Then lastly, we look at personal finance or financial literacy, including financial term of the day. You can as well come through with your contributions as well on Business Focus 0719 100 404. That's 0719 100 404. Good morning, Kudzie, and welcome to Business Focus.
Good morning, Goni. Thank you for having me.
All right, Kudzie, what are your thoughts on the plans to privatize the provision of water in major cities?
Thank you, Goni. So I think we need to give a bit of a background on why the government has approved the privatization of provision of water in major cities, especially Harare, Bulawayo, and others. I think it comes on the back of limited provision of water by the Harare City Council or the Bulawayo City Council. You look at Harare, for example, there are suburbs that have never had water for years. And then you've got suburbs where water is being rationed. You don't have water maybe for 2 or 3 days. And then it also comes on the back of the quality of the water that you get here in Harare is not that good. I'm sure you've seen videos being shared of how dirty the water is, despite assurances from the city of Harare that the water is clean for consumption. I don't remember the last time I consumed Harare city water. So that is the background in Harare. And then you also look at, for example, Bulawayo. I think it's the same. I've heard several times the mayor of Bulawayo complaining about the limited provision of water. Then you look at it even from a national point of view, from a business point of view. Do you know that we have got big companies, listed companies, that are buying water for the production of their goods? So you've got your manufacturers, beverage manufacturers, and many others that have had to resort to buying their own water. You also then look at initiatives that are being taken, even by government itself, to drill boreholes across cities. And again, it speaks to the limited provision of water by the Harare local government such as Harare City Council. So that's the background. So and now I understand government has approved the privatization of water provision, aiming to solve these urban challenges that I was highlighting. And the privatization of water, what it entails is that they've invited investors that are willing and entrepreneurs that are willing to go into the provision of water, and they've asked for submission of applications, and so far they've received about 5 proposals. 3 are from international companies, 2 are from local companies, and interviews and selection process are expected to be concluded by next week. So the privatization will cover the entire water value chain, such as purification of the water, distribution of the water, billing, and metering of the water. So that's the background, and I think they're looking at, for Harare, they're looking at dams such as Makocheranwa Dam, Kunzwi Dam, which are already under construction, to cover areas such as Milford, Goromon, Zirua, Mabuku, Zimre Park, which are also part of Harare, but on the periphery of Harare. And so that's the background of this. And now, what are my thoughts on that? I think there are pros and cons with regards to that. One is that when a private company is running such an initiative, private companies do it for profit. So we are likely to see increased costs which could lead to higher water tariffs that may be unaffordable to many residents, especially from the poor suburbs. And then they could also be, well, as I said, reduced access for the poor. Profit-driven companies may focus on serving wealthier areas that offer higher returns, potentially neglecting poor communities. And then also lower water quality, because they are profit-driven. Cost-cutting measures could lead to decline in water treatment and infrastructure maintenance, resulting in lower water quality. That could also be. Then also the issues of lack of transparency and accountability, because private companies may not be subject to same level of public scrutiny, such as what you give to local government. And however, there are also some potential upsides. For example, increased efficiency in the investment. Private companies may bring greater efficiency, expertise, and investment to the water sector, and potentially improving infrastructure, service delivery, and water quality. We are seeing it in the suburbs at the moment. Of course, they are using boreholes, but it seems like there is efficiency there. Then there is also potential reduced burden on government finances, because it will no longer be government that needs to maintain the infrastructure as well as the water. So that could free up public funds for other essential services such as education and healthcare. And then also improved technology. As I said, there are 3 international companies that have also submitted their proposals, and they are likely to bring new technology and innovation. Private companies are known to adopt new technologies and innovation, unlike the public or government-owned institutions. But however, I think for this to work, in my view, there is need for a strong regulatory framework. If we can have something like what we have in for electricity, where there is VERA to approve tariffs, or in the energy sector, fuel sector, or maybe something like what we have in the telecom sector, again, where there is the tariffs have to be approved after justification. I think something like that is needed to make sure that there is no profiteering. I think also there is need to accommodate the poor families that might not afford. Probably government might then have to step in and try and subsidize some families depending on their level of income. And then, I think if we maybe do it that way, then maybe it could work. I don't know what the listeners think, if you have got any contributions coming through, God.
So Sazi, I'm thinking hangu kuti sezvamataura kuti privatization hongu inouya nemaadvantage ane madisadvantage, but takatasana zvakare nemashandiro anoita this privatization system. In basic terms, we have no option than to bow down to matariffs anenge asetwa at that particular point because we need the water. Pane any representation erinoitika in terms of now maybe trying to adjust the tariffs downwards, or any legal representation inokwanisa kuwana the public in that regard?
Yeah, that's why I say there is need for a strong regulatory framework. When I was giving examples of what happens in the telecom sector, where the players in that sector have to give justification to say this is the reason why we want to increase our tariffs, these are our costs, and then they will be approved. So I think that government in that aspect will be the representatives of stakeholders. But you can also bring in an independent commission. Maybe the Competition and Tariff Commission can come in and also look into that. But yes, I think there is need for that. Remember, I was saying that there's private players, they do it for profit, and then also we've got poor people in our communities that might not afford, and then government has to step in one way or the other, either through subsidizing or paying for on their behalf, or whatever mechanism that can be put in place to make sure that the water provision remains affordable.
All right, Kudzie, thank you so much for that. Keep your contributions coming on 0719 100 404. It's Business Focus, 10 minutes before the hour of 8 o'clock. It's the time. Now, Kudzie, let's move forward and talk about the ZSC and other markets, how they are performing.
Thinking on so I think there was a bit of mixed trading on the ZSC, with the all share index down by 0.15%. However, the top 10 index was a marginal 0.09% in the positive territory. So a mixed bag there. You look at top risers, Zim Papers, the owners of Capital KFM, was the top riser there with a 50% gain for the counter. And then EcoCash also putting on 5.45%, South Africa adding 3.8%, Econet and Delta putting on 2.36% and 0.29% respectively. However, there are two counters that are continue to record losses. GP Holdings, the biggest loser there, down by 26.69%. Ipo Valley down by 14.99%. Art down by 14.93%. OK Zimbabwe continues to sting the blues, down by 14.91%. And then Pro Plastics also coming off by 14.36%. So you can see the heavy losses, although the losses are in the what you call the medium cap counters. So the way companies or counters on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange are distributed, you have got your top 10 index, which is made up of the 10 biggest companies on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange, and then you've got your top 15, and then you've got your medium cap, then you've got your small cap of those companies. So if you look at those heavy losses, I think they are in the medium cap companies, which were then compensated by the gains in the likes of Econet and Delta. That's why you see the loss was marginal, just 0.15%, despite those heavy losses recorded by the likes of OK Zimbabwe and Pro Plastics. Most of the investors were putting their money into Delta, about 7.6 million ZIC, changing hands there. Econet, about 5.7 million. And then EcoCash, CBZ, and FBC also getting a sizable chunk of the funds that were invested. Talking about CBZ there, I was reading one local publication this morning, saying that the planned merger or acquisition of ZB Bank by CBZ is also now doubtful because of the conditions that were placed on the deal by the Competition and Tariff Commission. So it is rumored that the deal was approved subject to certain conditions, and from the courts that were attributed to the CBZ chairperson, Lakson Zembe, as well as the CEO, Lawrence Nyazema. It seems like they are saying the conditions are too much, and they might not proceed with that transaction. They were actually saying, look, all we wanted, yes, locally we might have a better advantage than other financial institutions because of our size. Remember, apart from ZB Bank, they also wanted to acquire Faith Mutual Holdings to make a bigger financial institution with enough muscle to fund some of the projects that we want to that want to be undertaken here in Zimbabwe, and they wanted a bigger financial institution that can go out there, even in the world, and say, okay, we are CBZ. This is how big we are. This is our asset base. Can you give us 500 million, 1 billion? We want to fund certain infrastructure or whatever projects in Zimbabwe, and they'll be able to get that because of their size. But it seems the Competition and Tariff Commission is considering local competition, is not considering what CBZ wanted to achieve going into the region with this big bank like an Standard Bank of South Africa. So yeah, that's the latest with regards to the merger or acquisition of ZB Bank by CBZ, as well as the acquisition of FML by CBZ. So we are unlikely, unless the Competition and Tariff Commission reconsiders, that deal might be off the table. So yeah, that's I think that's the update on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange. The VFX down by 1.91%, 1.01% rather, on the Victoria Falls Stock Exchange, with losses in Axia, First Capital Bank, Insco, Padenga, and Citco International.
All right, Kudzie, thank you so much for that. Some contributions coming through as well on our studio WhatsApp number 0719 100 404. Somebody coming through here saying that water is a basic right and water should be paid, but it should be affordable by all. That's what they're saying. Also contributing to the issue of the privatization of the provision of water in major cities. That's another contribution coming on our WhatsApp number. Before we move on to the to the personal finance segment, a contribution is all coming up. Anzi Kudzie, is it wise to invest in money market funds?
Yeah, thank you. And coincidentally, Ngoni, today I was going to talk about, on the financial literacy aspect, I was going to talk about savings, the savings side, where you keep money aside for future use, be it any emergent fund that you say, okay, I'm putting so much money on the side so that I can, if there's any emergency such as illness, a funeral, although we've got funeral insurance and medical aid, but you might also want to keep some money emergency fund aside, or maybe the illness or funeral is of extended family, which is not covered by your medical aid or your funeral policy. So you need to keep money aside. That's one of the reasons for saving. Maybe you're putting money aside for a vacation at the end of the year, or maybe you want to buy a house or whatever you want to buy. You need to be saving money. And I believe that at least you must save, in my view, you must save between 10 and 20% of your income every month. And a lot of people will be like, why should I be saving so much money? Because there will come a time when you cannot work for yourself and you need money on the side to able to for you to be able to live by after you can't work anymore. Maybe you're old, maybe you're injured, you can't work anymore. So yeah, so that's the savings aspect. And now what some of the strategies that are there of savings. I think in Zimbabwe, another form of saving which is sort of informal. It's not around my Stockville in South Africa, but around, which I think it has got several advantages when you save it that way, because it gives you the discipline, because you have got a commitment to contribute regularly, and that instills financial discipline. Also, it's community-driven approach, because it fosters that sense of community and mutual support. I need a team around and you're keeping money aside. And also accessibility, is easier to access your money through savings. Now, how else do you save? I think Dopanoya question and getyourphone.com, Zimbabwe, how do we save? So you find out that in Zimbabwe, yes, we've got financial institutions, your banks, where savings accounts, unity trusts that are there. And of course, the benefits of savings accounts with banks is that of safety. Your money is insured by the bank, and there's no risk of that money being stolen, like in Stockville. Unless mavura account. And then also you can access your money easily if it is a savings with your bank. And then there's also the potential to earn interest. Of course, in Zimbabwe, there are challenges when it comes to interest, because the interest rates that are being paid by most of these for savings accounts, for example, in the money market, for example, for if you are saving your money for 30 days, you're paid 5% per annum. In fact, from 30 days up to 360 days, most financial institutions are offering just 5% per annum in terms of interest rates, and this is in US dollar terms. And you have then to compare with inflation. I think inflation last year closed at 2.48%. So if you are getting 5% as your interest, then there's the inflation aspect which erodes your savings. I think you'll be left with roughly maybe 1% interest, and then you have to say, is that enough? So these are some of the savings platforms that are there. There are a few fixed income instruments that come through, like your treasury bills that might pay more than what the banks pay. Treasury bills probably pay you 10% on your investment. So yeah, those are some of the.
All right, Kudzie. Thank you so much. I have to cut you now so that we make way for the news. Thank you so much for Business Focus today. We really appreciate.
Thank you, Ngoni.
Business Focus with Kudzie Sharara on the Champions League Breakfast.